So hello guys, and welcome to another video. And most of you probably already know that Super Mario Party Jamboree is building off of the classic Hudson Soft formula. And to those unaware, even though the title has Super Mario Party in it, the gameplay is almost exactly like how it was in Mario Party Superstars, but it's just kind of building off of that. But the fact that this game is a full return to the Hudson Soft formula and is actually a new iteration of that is no coincidence, because ND Cube has actually been restructured recently, and over the past decade, they've kind of been building up to this point. Like, each new game since Mario Party 10, aside from Mario Party the Top 100, has been making efforts to get closer to the older style, but we've finally now hit that point where we have a brand new game with this older style. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. So this isn't random. It's not randomly they're not just randomly deciding like, oh, we're just gonna use the classic formula out of nostalgia, or since Mario Party Superstars sold well. No, it's not just that. It's actually due to ND Cube as a whole. I feel like we should kind of think about ND Cube a little differently now. I know they had a bad reputation quite a while ago, but they've been getting a lot better with how they've been handling things recently. And the president of ND Cube is very significant in all of this. So Shuichiro Nishida stepped up to the role in 2019, and previously he did direct some titles under ND Cube, but originally he was a part of Hudson Soft and directed Mario Party 6, 7, and 8, and was a pretty significant person involved with Hudson Soft as well. And he became the president shortly after Super Mario Party released, which is when some of the restructuring kind of happened within ND Cube, and when we started to see some of these more significant changes in Mario Party, and also a couple other things in ND Cube that I will mention in a little bit. But leading up to this point, there's a lot of key details about ND Cube that are worth mentioning. So, after Hudson Soft was absorbed by Konami and was kind of being shut down at that point, many employees moved to ND Cube. The first game after Hudson Soft employees moved there was Wii Party, which was the first game that they developed after 7 years. So there was likely a major restructuring of the company around the late 2000s when the Hudson Soft employees were moving there. And Mario Party got its first new entry in 5 years with Mario Party 9, but used a very different formula. Everyone rode in cars and collected mini-stars and traversed a very linear board. Island Tour also used a very linear structure as well, and Mario Party 10 basically used the same car mechanic. It's very likely that they were trying to incorporate new ideas because they thought that would make the series more interesting, since during the GameCube era, Mario Party did have a bit of a stigma surrounding critics because each game was perceived as being very similar. But with these games, they definitely were poorly received and weren't received well by fans, obviously, so this wasn't really working out. And of course, Mario Party 10 didn't sell great because it was on the Wii U, but yeah, there was definitely some changes a little after Mario Party 10. And that was really the first shift with this, and there was a possibility that they did hear the feedback, or at least realized that there were major flaws holding the series back with the car formula. And in the next game with Star Rush, they were definitely shifting in a much better direction. The core formula was significantly closer to the classic formula, despite having that new grid-based movement where everyone moved at once. And the stars were back as well, and There were interesting items, the boards felt less linear, so there was definitely more strategy involved, and it was a much better system than the car. And after that, Super Mario Party continued the build off of this, and brought the series even closer to the classic formula, and this game kind of felt like a basic version of the classic formula, which in some ways is both a good thing and a bad thing. A good thing because it kind of felt like the older games in a lot of ways, but at the same time, the depth wasn't really there. It was pretty shallow, and the boards were very small, the coin economy was kind of weird, so it was very flawed, despite the fact that you could see that the series was moving in a better direction. This era was basically ND Cube trying to find Mario Party's footing again, and realized that the classic formula was the best thing to kind of make a base to build off of, and they still did experiment with some things around this time with gimmicks and things like the partner party, Coinathlon, and everybody moving at the same time in Star Rush, but you could definitely see that they were making efforts to make this series more interesting and in line with what people expected from Mario Party. But yeah, so after Super Mario Party, there was also another shift that happened. This is when Nishida became president in 2019, and also around this time, ND Cube was hiring more developers. There were some like flyers and job listings that were posted around that time. I know a lot of them kind of gained some traction between like gaming journalists and Nintendo news sources. So we kind of knew around that time that we were going to get a new Mario Party game fairly soon. And another thing that was definitely shifting around this time was online functionality, since it was significantly improving. It was fairly good in Clubhouse Games, which was another game that ND Cube developed around that time. They also added it to Super Mario Party 3 years after it released, and in that case, that kind of was basically like a test run for Mario Party Superstars, because that online wasn't great. I mean, it was better than the initial online mode that game had, but you could kind of see that they were really just testing the waters with that one. But the online in Mario Party Superstars was really good. And this era kind of felt like they were taking the final steps in bringing the Mario Party formula back to the classic Hudson formula. Superstars kind of felt like a trial run in this aspect, because it was the first game that fully brought it back, but it was basically a very faithful adaptation of Mario Party 1 through 3's board gameplay, specifically 2 and 3, I would say, and it was more replicating it rather than trying to create a new thing, so it kind of seemed like this was basically an opportunity for newer developers, and also the returning developers, to kind of get a sense for what the older formula is like, and kind of getting, like I said, those returning developers like used to this formula again, since it has been very long since the original formula was fully in place. And now that we see that Jamboree is basically bringing back this gameplay formula again with the boards, and also the board design and the coin economy looks much better and much more in line with what we wanted, we could kind of see that Superstars really was basically an opportunity for the developers to kind of work off of that formula again. And it really seems like at this point, ND Cube wants to continue bringing back this formula, but also at the same time, kind of adding some new ideas on top of it to make it more interesting, rather than just using the same ideas over and over again and having little variation between the boards. They want to do various gimmicks and interesting things that kind of enhances the gameplay without sacrificing what people loved about the older formula in the first place. So it's very promising what NDCube has been doing here, and I am really looking forward to the future of the series, especially since they restructured the company and really seem like they want to continue in this direction. Like, I feel like the writing was on the wall ever since Super Mario Party released, because that was the first game, like, after, like, Mario Party 9 and 10 on a console that was actually somewhat reminiscent of the older formula. So it really seemed like they wanted to move away from that very linear board design just a few years after it was introduced. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Twitter if you want to. Goodbye.